Two, one. Okay, so finally we've been having a conversation back in the green room or whatever color room we have, but today we have a conversation with Laura Silva. I gotta find out where this surname comes from as well. And I'm sure you've told me before. It's
Kirkpatrick
Kirkpatrick.
is, yeah, it's Scottish. I'm sure there's some Irish in there because the word Patrick, I mean, hello, it has to be, but it's a
I've
Scottish surname.
I've no doubt somewhere that there's a connection because in your book that we're going to be exploring today, which is called The Invisible Gift or El Regalo Invisible, my Spanish,
Maybe.
that's the maximum amount of Spanish I think you're going to get out of me for this interview and this conversation. But we have it both in English and in Spanish, but there's some Irish names of some of the characters as well, which was for me
Yeah.
great to see, with my bias and my prejudice kicking in. But Laura, thanks a million for joining us this morning.
Th
And
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
yeah, no, it's great. And it's great to have you part of Golden Rulism Day or Golden Rule Day, which we're hoping to put out to many people in different parts of the world. And you are our first author to be interviewed, our children's author. But you're also an illustrator, and you've also got many other hats that we've been talking about, because we've got to know each other over the last wee while as well,
Yeah,
which is a big bonus. And not only do I feel like I know you, but I also know one of the characters in the book, who the
you
book is
do.
based off. And my daughters also get a chance to know Orla, Orla slash Emma. So I think first of all, I mean, the way the book is described, and you can get this online, and I'm going to put a chat, I'm going to put the link in the chat if we can to
Okay.
the casalibro.com that people can buy it and they get the full physical book, but they also get the two audios. So the book
Yeah,
is translated
the
brilliantly.
audiobook is accessible via a QR code. I don't know if you can see it right
Yep, see
there.
it perfectly. Yep.
And you can hear the book in English and in Spanish. And what's interesting is that my daughter plays the voice of Fiona, the main character, so in both languages because she is also bilingual from birth. So
Maybe let's start there because
yeah,
often we get bilingual books, but usually that's a process of the book going through one translation. So it's written for a certain audience in a certain language,
yeah,
and then it's translated by somebody else, usually or a company, to try and adapt it into another language. But because you have grown up in a completely bilingual setting and your
I
children
have.
are growing up in a bilingual setting, you've been an illustrator, but then you've written this book literally in two different languages. And I was reading this book to my children last night. No word of a lie, actually. I did it purposely because I knew we'd be talking today. But you can see that it works sort of seamlessly. It's in Spanish and it's in English on the same page. It's not half the book and then you switch over to Spanish and English. It is all there in one go. But how was that to not only to write a book in Spanish, but to grow up in a fully bilingual context and then bring your children up in a bilingual context, but then produce a book like this, completely
Well,
bilingual.
as you mentioned, I'm bilingual from birth because I was raised here in Madrid by an American mother and a Spanish father. But I grew up here in Spain, went to a completely Spanish school. Nothing was in English back then. We didn't have any YouTube. We didn't have any bilingual schools, at least not the public ones. And so my mom made a very big effort to speak only in English to me. And I had my grandparents and I had a little bit of exposure. I was a little Girl Scout as as my daughter is at the American school. So all these little windows of exposure helped to keep the language alive. And when I think about my childhood, I just think of it as a in a bilingual setting. And I wanted the same for my kids. So my husband is Spanish, but we speak to the kids in both languages and we try to expose them to both languages as much as possible. And when the idea came to write a children's book, it just had to be in both languages. That's just the way I understand my childhood and my kids' childhood. So what I
It's
did
beautiful.
was I wrote it first in English because I just
Okay.
like rhyming in English better. I just think I think it's cuter. And
Hmm.
I'm in love with all the rhyming style of Julia Donaldson, that rhyme, that rhythm. I just love it. So I wrote it in English first. And then, but I hadn't in mind which words I wanted to use in Spanish, and I just tried to make it rhyme in Spanish, which is a little tricky, I must say. But I knew where the story was going, so if I had to get creative with a few words here and there, I knew how to reach the same goal.
It's beautiful. And not only is it a gorgeous book with so much depth to it, and we can explore the themes and your aspirations for the book in this conversation, but also it's a linguistic tool. And as I was telling you last night, I was reading it. So I was reading it in English, obviously. And I had my two daughters beside me, but they were really getting into the theme and the concept of the book. But my daughter was reading it in Spanish, I was reading in English, and our other younger daughter was getting it in two languages. So there's the added bonus of not only being captured by the visuals and by the imagery of the book, but you're getting a double bonus there. And I think I said this before, that children for me are the best critics or the worst, the hardest critics, whether it
They
comes to
are.
food, whether it comes to choosing an activity to do, but certainly reading a book. They know after the first couple of pages if they're going to be into this or not, despite how animated you might be and how much you might try to
Mhm.
to empower a book onto them. If they don't like it, they don't like it.
No,
This
they're
book
gonna tell
they
you
love.
if they don't like it.
Yeah, they will for sure. With the facial expressions as well as just saying, "Daddy, come on, can we switch book?" They
Yeah.
feel they have options. So they did get to the full book. And we've read it a few times, but with a bit more depth last night and lots more questions that were coming from them as well. But so to describe the story, I mean, I've seen it written as well, but it's the embodiment of a great life lesson and a revelation of wisdom coming from your own daughter, and
Yeah.
the character Fiona. So the wisdom that's coming from it, but beyond maturity of a 6-year-old, because the concepts of ecological flourishment and I would almost say climate justice that's linked in. You've
Yeah.
got nature, you've got animals, the love for animals and the love for nature, and obviously you've got children. And for me, that very much connects with both Golden Rulism's aspirations and particularly the new website that we have, which is Golden Rulism Can. The Can standing for children, animals, and nature. And so to have this as our first book and our first author is quite special as well. And I just want to read the second piece that's written about this book as well. So it's an endearing story. So they say it's an endearing story about this ecological responsibility, about the impact of doing our part and the value of what really matters in life. And we had a small conversation about this before today, but both in terms of giving, but also receiving from people and from nature, and beyond that as well. So we've mentioned a little bit about where people can find the book, and that definitely will be in the link, and we'll put that hopefully on the socials as well for the Charter for Compassion, which this will be going out with for. But maybe tell, if you don't mind sharing the experience of what it was like for you, Laura, because I know you've illustrated two other books in the past, very close to
Yes.
your heart and close to your family's heart, and
Yes.
then from illustration to becoming author, and how that worked, because you do have an illustrator with a beautiful name, Smile. I'd love to. I know there's a story behind that. I just don't know
Yes,
the
there
story
is.
behind that. But maybe talk us through how that process was for you.
Well, what I illustrated, this was years ago. My grandpa wrote a couple of poetry books, and he wanted me to do the illustrations, and I did it out of love for him. It wasn't a professional job. And for this book, I just started with the story first, and then I decided to be brave and do the illustrations myself, which I learned how to do online. And I had the help of an illustrator called Smile. That's her alias. And she gave me lessons to make them look a little nicer. She gave me lessons on proportions and lighting and colors, and it really did help. It was a beautiful journey. It was a long journey. It took me 2 years to do the illustrations. Yeah, the
Wow.
story, just writing this, the story came to me. It came to me in about a week. I just had the idea, and then the actual writing and translating took me maybe 2 months. But the illustrations, I had to dive in this whole world, and it took me 2 years. And I'm very proud of the result, I must say.
Well, it's great to be proud, and yeah, I can understand why you are proud. It makes a lot of sense, but it's a good lesson in itself that, for people that do have ideas or aspirations to say, I have a story idea, that the story is brilliant, getting it down and as strong and as powerful as you can, but there's a lot of work beyond the story. And it sounds like you've learned a lot of not only lessons, but really amazing skills through the process of.
It is a lot of work. It's very satisfying work because the book becomes your baby, and the story you want to get out becomes your baby. And every little decision made my heart happy. Like I wanted the character Fiona. If you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but
Yeah,
she looks a
perfectly.
little bit like me. I'm not wearing my glasses right now, but these are my exact glasses, and this is what I looked when I was a little girl. And the characters in the book, you can see the grandpa. The grandpa looks exactly like my dad.
All right.
That is the grandpa right there. That is my mom when she was younger. This is a mix of my two grandmas. My Spanish grandma, Angelita, and my American grandma, Shirley. And this is my husband. So, as you said, you know some of the characters in this book because they look
And so
exactly
you're
like this.
really able to personalize it. I mean, you say it was your baby, but in many respects, it was literally based on your baby, your first baby,
Yeah, my
and
first
her
baby,
journey
Emma.
through her birthdays.
Well, the thing is, we after no, back in 2020, Emma was she was 4 years old, and that was a very scary year. And we couldn't celebrate her birthday, of course, because we were just stuck inside. The following year, when she turned 5, things were still pretty.
Hmm.
I mean, it was hard to know how to celebrate birthdays. We all had to wear a mask. We had to do things outside. We couldn't touch things. It was really hard to do celebrations. And I remember we went to another birthday party, and a mom said, please make sure everybody bring their own cup, their own glass, so that we're not mixing plastic cups. And I thought, well, that's actually really good for the environment. If we all bring our own cup, then we don't have to buy a huge stack of plastic cups. And the same with food. I can't remember. Oh yeah, they did individual portions. And I thought, oh, that's actually very good for the environment. We don't need forks, we don't need spoons, we don't need knives. We can just take it with our hands. And that's when it was time for Emma to celebrate her birthday. That's how we did it. We made sure everybody brought their own cup. And for the cake, we made little cupcakes, individual cupcakes for each kid so that she didn't have to blow the candles and spread the virus to everybody else. And I just thought this is great for the environment and in every way. If everyone had their own individual cupcake, if instead of, well, nobody wants junk food and birthday parties, it's hard to avoid.
Yeah.
But if we have little sandwiches, go back to basics. Little sandwiches, it's not so unhealthy. And you don't need plastic for it. You can just eat it with your hands. Or fruit sticks. Fruit sticks are great. Kids love them. They're fun to eat and very minimal waste when you organize that. And that's pretty much how I came up with the idea of a zero waste birthday party. And that's how I came up with the idea for the book as well. Also, not only based on the party, but also the lesson behind it as well.
And it's a strong lesson, not just for children, but for everybody. And I love the fact that it was a sort of an evolving story for you. It was a lived story, so
Yeah.
you're able to go through that, experience that, and particularly coming out of a really challenging period of time,
Yes.
it made even more sense in that time to say let's give this new idea a go, and then the book came from there. So it was interesting, even the beautiful connection that Orla or Emma had in the character in
No,
the story.
Fiona. There's no Orla.
Orla, Fiona. I'm giving her a new name, another character. Maybe that's for the Secret Seven. Maybe that's for the seventh year lesson from. But Fiona was really attached to her 5 birthday and all
Oh,
the 5 things
yes.
around. And so when I
Kids do
was,
that, don't they? They
they
get
really
obsessed
do.
with something. Yeah.
Both girls last night while reading this story, Lua was, thank you, Lua was talking about her connection to the number 3 because she's 3 and she was able to
Yeah.
see all the different things about 3. And Kira, although she's a little bit older now, she was talking about when she was 4. However, it's still her favorite number. And so moving
Yeah.
on, there was another lesson for us and the girls that, we can become attached to certain things, and that makes sense. And we can see lessons in that. And all of what we're looking for can be connected to a number, a theme, a concept. But we also move on with the cycle of life. And there was a nice conversation about that afterwards. They were asking lots of questions as well. But can I throw something at you, Laura, if that's okay?
Yes.
I know I'm throwing this at you completely, but would you mind reading even a section of the book that you feel
Sure.
attached or comfortable? We probably don't have time for the whole book, but it'd be lovely to hear in your voice. And of
Of
course,
course.
your narrator on the book is Emma. So we have, but
Yeah.
I have it
I
downloaded already on my phone so people can listen to it. But if you do get the book, that's a huge bonus. You've
Okay.
two options as well for Emma's Spanish and Emma's English.
Well, Fiona, bit of a spoiler, but the invisible gift for Fiona is a trip to the beach with her family. And she's organizing her birthday party. And when she goes to the beach, she realizes that all the garbage, all the trash in the water, these are all the things on her list. She wanted to organize a birthday party. She wanted plastic cups and plastic spoons and balloons and all the fun confetti, all the fun stuff that we see at birthday parties. And then she sees that it's in the ocean. So I wanted to read this part over here. It says, "Why is the beach so dirty?" Fiona felt terribly sad. "Humans produce so much waste that it ends up here," said Dad. And in Spanish, it would be, "¿Por qué hay tanta basura?" preguntó a papá sollozando. "Es triste, pero la basura en el mar se va acumulando." And that is when Fiona decides to change this. And she says, "I won't be a part of this problem. Absolutely not. I refuse." So Fiona came up with 5 ideas to reduce, recycle, and reuse. And in Spanish, it would be, "No seré parte del problema. Claro que no, ni hablar." Fiona pensó en 5 ideas para reducir, reusar, y reciclar. And here are the 5 ideas over here. And the thing with number 5 is that it's Fiona's favorite number, and it's hidden everywhere. In every page, you need to find 5 elements. So here you can find the 5 palm trees and the 5 seagulls. And there's the surfboard with the 5 flowers on it.
And the kids have a lot of fun trying to find them because they didn't discover all of them the first time reading it, but second time round, there were more 5s appearing, which is a game within the story as well, which is lovely.
And kids
Sorry,
love to play detective.
I didn't want to interrupt your flow there.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, you get a chance from seeing the book there of the beautiful visuals and a penny drop moment for a 5-year-old. I mean, we all have these moments in our life. Sometimes we realize, okay, we're going in a direction that maybe is not the direction for us, but to be part of a 5-year-old's journey when she's in the ocean, she's connected with nature, she's, all the senses are kicking in.
All the 5 senses, which is her favorite number 5.
Exactly. Her full 5 senses are kicking in. And that's when, in that moment, when she's in that, flow of thought, using the senses, using the nature or the geo connection that she has, she realizes, what I really want to impress my friends, to be accepted by my friends, is to have this beautiful big party. But actually, by doing that, I might not be connecting with what I want to see in the world, which is really a heart moment. And if kids can get to that moment and realize she really wanted this, she was attached to this, but she's seeing the denigration of our planet right there in front of her in the ocean, all this plastic everywhere, microplastic and plastic. So then the moment with adults and with kids is, okay, what do we do now? I still want to have a party. I still want to have my friends around. I still want to be, in many ways loved by those around you. But do I have to do that at the cost of my values, at the cost of, who I am as a person at that very young age? That must be a big dilemma. So I love
it's a very young age, but kids can definitely understand that. And they can understand the concept of consequence. And that's when Fiona, she sees all that trash and she says, "Oh, these are all the items from my list. This is what I wanted to buy. But this is the consequence. If I buy all this plastic, this is where it's going to end up. So maybe there is an alternative. Maybe there's something else I can do instead."
And I love the idea in the book as well of the mentors. So you've got this figure, the doing figure of the grandmother, who's not talking about necessarily how, she guides her granddaughter, her grandson through this, but she's showing. So she's putting the glass bottle into the recycle bin or to the, whether it's glass or plastic bottle, I'm not sure. She's showing them and doing it by embodying it. And then you've got the wisdom in voice form and, with the tone of the grandfather, whispering in the ear of Fiona, not only guiding her and giving her a bit of space to go for it, but also when she changes and when she switches into her 6-year-old, he's reaffirming that this is part of life. And I love that sort of almost that mentor role that we have. It doesn't have to be a grandmother or grandfather. we can always get those connections. But the fact that it is a grandmother and a grandfather, and she needed to persuade at one stage, I believe. Maybe I'm making this up and I'm looking too much in depth. But when the grandmother was coming out and saying, "Where is the, the traditional
Where are
hearty
the
food?
plastic plates? Yeah.
Where are the plastic plates?" Fiona was able to explain and show that we don't actually need the plastic
Yeah.
plates. We can look for alternatives. So it's such a short book, and yet there's so much depth to it. So that must be the talent of the author, but the illustrator, and to have two roles in one must be a great achievement for you, and it must be a great feeling to see other people enjoying it as well. I've definitely put the link, Laura, again in the chat, and we'll make sure we share that, because part of the book is the process and the journey as you describe, but also putting it out there and allowing people to be able to take it on board, and it becomes part of their story somehow as well. So it's
Yeah.
Laura's story through her family, through her vision, but then it's other people's story when they get a chance to see and connect with it.
Thank you so much for putting the link. It is available online. I want it to be online on other platforms as well. However, what I enjoy about this whole process is reading it to the kids, to my audience. So what I've been doing is lots of storytellings at schools, and I'm turning this into a lesson. Earth Day is coming up on April 22nd. Also Book Day, April 23rd here in Spain. But I think every school, every teacher wants to teach this lesson, really. It's part of the curriculum for I would say, every age.
Can and
So
should be.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and
thank you for
I'm
reminding us.
having so much fun just going to schools from ages to 5, 6 to 11, and reading it to the kids in both languages or in either language. And this is what I'm enjoying the most, really. So if when people ask me, where can I find this book, I tell them, tell me where the school your kids go to, and I will go there and I will read it to them.
And the fact that we're living in a very digital age as well, often that can be a big challenge, but that could be an opportunity here as well. If people are listening and watching this interview, this chat that we're having, and we're interested to bring you digitally into the classroom as well, that could possibly, or could be an opportunity as well.
Delighted.
Almost like we're doing here, and you get a chance to meet the author, you get a chance to hear the story behind it, and then obviously to get the journey of the story itself. And thank you, Laura, for reminding us of Earth Day as well, because it does very much connect to the themes within Earth Day. And like you said, within every home, but every education center, every classroom, social emotional learning in its essence is in this book, but you've so much more. And a story within a story, maybe again, I'm looking a little bit too much into this, but the fact that in the book you share a little bit of your own story of where this skill, where this talent came from. So, and I'm sure that so many children can connect. In fact, I know it because I was one of them, and our own children. We can't be interested in every topic all of the time. We have multiple intelligences. And your example that you tell at the start of the story, where you were, bored in school, and boredom.
Oh, so bored.
Such a negative thing, but boredom is essential for our children to go into their creative side. So you were doodling quite a lot in school.
Oh yeah, that's what I was doing. I think lots of kids focus better when they're doodling in school, and then they get scolded for it, but it's actually good for them, It keeps you concentrated.
That's the product of doodling. I mean, if doodling is, if you want to call it doodling, there's so much in that lesson in itself.
In fact, this doodling over here, this is what I did when I was a kid.
And that's the very opening.
Yeah, this over here, and you can find this pattern in every page, really. It's hidden somewhere. So it's in the curtains. Yeah, you have to identify it somewhere. And there's my little signatures over here. As a little girl, I used to sign. See this little eye with this little body and the little dots? That was my signature when I was a little kid. So you have to find it in every page as well.
If you're going around the streets of Madrid graffitiing your little thing around, I would prefer the lesson and the symbolism in that than a lot of the other graffiti. But in all joking aside, the fact that we can actually use something that you might have been scolded for, you might have been told, let's not do this, don't do this, do this. There's a lesson in that, and it's not a criticism of educators and parents. We can't be entertaining and always capturing people's imagination. We can try as an aspiration, but allowing that space somewhere in between as well for other forms of creativity, just to evolve, and then harnessing that and supporting that and encouraging that. I think there's a strong lesson in that for people who are, you know, a little bit bored in school, or and not only the whole entire school, but listen, I've been working in education for so long myself at this point, that we need to rethink our education a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Not saying, you know, that we have to overhaul everything, but adapting it to multiple voices, multiple intelligences and approaches. And yeah, the book definitely covers a lot of that for me.
Education is better now than it used to be. I mean, I think teachers now want to harvest creativity in their kids. They want to see it bloom, and they know about multiple intelligences at least more than they did 30 years ago. So I am hopeful.
I agree. I do agree. And yet, when we look at the world around us, and you know, the role of golden
Oh
rulism
yeah.
and Golden Rule Day and the Charter for Compassion and all the other organizations, I'm sure you have connections to, you know, looking outside the windows of this big lofty tower that I'm in here in Madrid, we don't have to look too far where there's, you know, environmental denigration, there's poverty of humankind, human created poverty, and there's utter destruction happening in other parts of the world. And so the invisible gift, the idea of being able, and this is where for me the book connects to golden rulism, and particularly the children, animals, and nature, being able to see and identify something that you can do, and it's the action side of it. You can give a gift to somebody, you can receive a gift and actually have the gratitude of receiving a gift. But a question that sort of comes to my mind, and I've sort of alluded to it a tiny bit here, but you know, Fiona's Secret 7. So if this book was to continue, and you're being the author, imagining we're going on another year, and lots has happened in the last year or so, as you identified. Things are improving in many parts of the world, and things are getting even much more challenging.
Yes.
When we look at the treatment of other human beings. So what gift do you think, if Fiona could offer a seventh gift? She went to the beach, she acted based on what she identified in nature happening in her 5th year into her 6th year. But if Fiona was to offer a gift, just, and it doesn't have to, we don't have to tie you down to this in any way, but is there any gift you can imagine that Fiona might be able to give us adults as well? You know, some lenses to see the world in a different way. A gift that the world needs right now.
Well, Fiona, for her birthday, she always gets 5 gifts. 4 of them are materialistic.
Material.
Yeah, which every kid gets for their birthday. And then the 5th one is invisible, and that's the most special one for her. So there's a lesson there already, that the one she's looking forward to, she always gets something you want, something you need, something to wear, something to read, which is quite a common tradition for a lot of people. But the 5th one is the one she's excited about, and she knows it's a family trip somewhere. So she already has that. She's looking forward to that. And in the family trip is when she learns this big life lesson about the environment. And then she changes her birthday party to make it fit her values. If we had to think about a 7th gift, I would say, since she already connected to the consequences in nature, I think the 7th one would be connecting to people. So maybe there's an idea for another book there. I don't know, but I think she should connect now. Instead of helping the environment, she needs to connect with people now that she's a little more mature. And I think that's the golden rule, right? Is treating others like you would like to be treated yourself.
Absolutely. And there's something beautiful in the chronology of that, you know, from a geocentric point of view, first in nature, and opening up yourself up to the senses, working towards a human-centric approach secondly. And often it's the other way around, and that, you know, it can work, but I think personally I like that flow from geocentric to human-centric. And exactly, the golden rule or golden rulism is just taking that a little bit further to, you know, do to all others directly and indirectly. So all, including nature, other beings, directly and indirectly, what you'd like done for you, or not doing to any other what you wouldn't like done to you. And I think Fiona does that as well. So she doesn't do something and creates a gift out of that as well. So she doesn't use the plastic, the throwaway plastic. She doesn't do what every other kid, what she's expected to do. She stands out. She's not afraid to stand out and say, you know, maybe my friends won't like this, she's really going for it. You know, you can still have ice pops, you can still have
Yeah.
ways of enjoying things as well.
And the birthday turns into something else. It's not a party you throw to receive things. She turns into something to give. It's a giving opportunity to give a nice cozy, fun party to her friends, to her family, but also she gives an invisible gift to the ocean by not producing plastic.
It's the very premise of Golden Rulers and Can. So yeah, again, I'm so happy that this book was our first of many, hopefully to come. I'm going to finish now because I know we're probably going to come towards the end of this conversation. But you wrote such a beautiful personal piece to our family here as well. And what you said in your piece here is that to our girls and to ourselves is remember that love is the best invisible gift. Could you elaborate to close off, if you don't mind, Laura? What do you mean by love is the best? Like how so? And you know, beyond these commodities and things, as you mentioned in the book, or material things, could you talk to us a little bit about why love is the most powerful invisible gift?
Well, it's something Fiona knows. She knew at the beginning of the book, and she knows even more at the end of the book, that the most important things in life are not actually things. So it's those are the memories you're going to keep forever. I don't remember what I got from my birthday when I was 6 years old. I remember the people I was with, you know, I remember the event, I remember my family, and I don't think our kids are going to remember the toys they get either. So it is love. It is love, and the joy of giving brings you so much more happiness than the joy of receiving a toy.
Beautiful. And it, yeah, very much connects to the empathy, to the gratitude, you know, the gratitude, not just getting, and of course every kid wants to get. That's part of
Yeah, of
being a
course
child
they
as
do.
well.
Of course they do. But uh, we should give them more credit. And if you tell them, what can you? I mean, my daughter's already planning her next birthday already, and it's in June. And she's thinking, these are the little party favors I want to give to my friends. And she's focused on that. She hasn't told me what she wants for her birthday. She's telling me, this is what I want to do for my friends on my day. And if
Wow.
we give children the opportunity, they want to give. They really do. It makes them really happy.
Almost it's a question of stepping out of the way at times and just allowing that
Yeah,
innate compassion, that innate love, that innate ability to
exactly.
connect with people around them and also with nature. And it's so we're almost parents, but facilitators as well of just letting the process happen. And if anything, this is a good guidebook. I also love the fact that our two daughters, although very close in age, they're almost in terms of the days of the birthday are very close. So they can influence each other on what they're doing. So we have some birthdays coming up in the season ahead. We've 3 birthdays coming up, 1 actual birthday and 2
Yeah.
birthdays to celebrate. So we've got some ideas. Certainly your idea of the 5, that's really nice. It sort of connects, and I think kids can understand that as well. If we're fortunate enough to be able to, you know, the gifts don't have to be expensive in any way. And I think you allude
No.
to that it's just the value that we place on time, on energy, on resources, and
Something
creativity
you
that
want, something you need, something to wear, something to read. It's more than enough. It's more than enough. Kids don't need any more than that. And it makes them happy, and it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, all the clothes I buy for my kids are secondhand, and they're fine. But there's something you want for Emma last year. I think it was some markers because she likes to make art. It was €6. It doesn't have to be expensive at all.
and it can go an awful long way. So thank you so much for taking the time today to chat to us for Golden Rulers and Day. And I know this is, well, maybe we've sparked some ideas. Hopefully there's some collaboration that can come out of this as well. But
Hopefully.
if you want to get the book, it's casalibro.com, and then we put the link here. If you want to contact you, Laura, is there any way we can
Yes.
contact you for maybe readings inside schools or for family
Yeah, of
birthdays, whatever
course.
it might be?
My Instagram is at Invisible Gifts. And yeah, contact me, and I would be delighted to either digitally or just physically to just go to schools and read the book. English, Spanish, both languages, either one doesn't matter to me.
Fantastico. Muchísimas gracias, Laura.
Ay,
And
gracias a ti.
lovely to chat to you. So happy Golden Rule Day and beyond to
Yes,
you, and happy Earth Day as well, coming up pretty soon as well. So
likewise. Thank you so
in
much.
Irish, we would say Gurev Mila Maigut, 1,000 thank yous to you. So thank you so
Oh,
much for joining us.
that's lovely. Thank you. Thank you so
Here.
much. Bye.